Hello, my name is Kyra Dolifka. In this training video, we are going to be talking about qualifying your clients as a travel agent. In order to sell them some travel and make reservations for them, we must qualify them first. So what does it mean to qualify a client? Well, in sales terms, qualifying is the process of assessing a prospective customer to determine appropriate action. This is usually to decide whether it is worth putting any effort into the sale. So this boils down to, are they serious or about booking travel with you? You need to determine, what is going to be the appropriate amount of effort to spend on this client. Are they shopping around? Are they ready to book? How serious are they about working with you? So how do we qualify clients as travel agents? So this really is very simple. You're just going to ask them questions. If they are not going to spend time answering questions, they are probably not as serious as the client who's going to hop on the phone with you that same day and answer any and all questions that you have for them. Those clients that are replying to your emails, replying to your messages, and answering your phone calls are the clients who are really serious about booking travel with you. So as a travel agent, we are going to take care of any client who requests any information from us, but we need to spend our time where time is due. Our time is valuable, and make sure you are valuing yourself and your time. Spend more time on those high quality leads and clients, those people who are ready to book, the people who are on top of it and are communicating with you. But don't ignore the people who don't seem quite as serious, right? Some clients are shopping around for a price. Some clients are not ready to book. Some clients are just needing some help with research or talking to other travel advisors. Don't ignore those people, but just make sure you are giving them the appropriate amount of effort for how serious they truly are. If they are shopping around and they're ready to book their trip in about 2 months, well, that's great. Give them some information, but the price is going to change, right? So just keep in mind that when they reach out to you in 2 months and you contact them at that time to make their reservation, that's when you're going to put in the effort, because that's when they're ready to book the trip. So some qualifying questions. What are we going to ask our clients in order to qualify them? Okay, so this is our just basic, most minimum list. You cannot book a trip or write a quote for a client without this information. So let's start with their name and contact, okay? You need the name of the person you're working with, their phone number, and their email address. You need to be calling your clients, and you're also going to be using email as a form of communication for quote documents and reservation details. So you need both their phone number and email address. So why are they traveling? This is really important and something that sometimes gets overlooked. If it is a couple traveling, that's a whole lot different than a mother-daughter, right? Just because they're two adults doesn't necessarily mean that their relationship is, a romantic one. If it's mother-daughter, that's a whole different kind of trip and a whole different vibe and intention, and maybe the right kind of hotel is completely different from a couple traveling. So why are they traveling? Is it a birthday celebration? Is it somebody, a child graduating high school? Are they traveling to have fun? Is this an annual trip? The purpose of the trip is going to really help you nail down the right details. Where are they traveling to? Okay, you've got to know where they're going, where they want to go. Very important, so that you can do accurate research. I would not recommend creating quotes for 4 different locations if your client is stuck between 4 different places. Really try and nail down that where before you create a quote. Again, this comes down to qualifying. If your client knows where they want to go, that's going to mean they are more serious about that location, right? If they don't know where they want to go, help them figure that out before you pour your effort into a quote. When are they traveling? Okay, you really need a small time frame for this. People may say that they want to travel over the summer, but I am sure that they are not willing to travel any day during the summer. There are days that are not going to work for them. There are days that they really do want to travel. So I recommend getting a window of no more than 2 weeks of travel time, because then you can look and see when's going to be the best time to travel within that time period. But if your client is giving you multiple months of potential travel dates, you really need to try and narrow that down before you begin putting in work. Again, spend the amount of work that's appropriate. The last thing you want to do is not ask them for a narrow window. They give you any time in the summer and you go and they come back and say those dates you picked don't work for us. So you know that there is more that they can tell you about that. So who is traveling? You need to know how many people, how many adults, how many children. You need to know the age of the children at time of travel. Best thing to do is to get the children's date of birth. So any children traveling, get their date of birth so that you can make sure you are aware of how old they will be at time of travel, right? It may not be their age today. When you talk about who, what is their relationship? Is it a couple or is it two families traveling? Is it grandma, grandpa, mom, dad, and two children? You know, also when you're talking about who, what is the relationship there? Because that's going to also help you when it comes to maybe how many rooms they need and rooming arrangements. Their budget. We'll be talking a little bit more about this in just a moment, but you do need to know what they are comfortable spending on the trip. You don't want to throw them something way out of the ballpark, right? If their budget is really large, that means they don't really want to stay in the cheapest place. If their budget's really low, then you don't want to send them the luxury option either. So budget is very important to send a option that they are going to actually be able to afford and is within the price point they are really looking to spend. Travel components, okay? What do they need? Maybe they already have a hotel picked out and they've already booked that and they just need help getting there. They need their rental car and activities, right? So just because someone is traveling somewhere, it doesn't mean that they need all of these things. Are they traveling by air? Do you need to book their flights? Did they already book their flights? Are they driving? If they're driving, then of course you don't need a flight. So always ask your clients what they're looking to book. Flight, hotel, cruise, rental car, activities. These are a great place to start when it comes to travel components that are going to be necessary for that trip. And of course, if they need flights, you need to know what airport they are departing from. Very important. Some cities have multiple airports, so their preferred airport may not be what you would think the option would be. For example, New York has 3 airports. There might be one that they strongly prefer. So just because they live in that area doesn't necessarily mean they're open to all departure airports in that area. And then, of course, anything else that they want to share. So here are some additional questions that you could use to help qualify clients. These are more specific things. You can create a quote with just the stuff that was on the previous slide. These questions are going to help you do it even better, right? And to be right the first time. Do they have an airline preference? Some people have airlines and they try to fly on the same airline all the time, so they accrue those miles for the airline that they prefer. Okay, that's going to help you out as well. And their airline preference is probably a good airline for them to fly out of their desired departure airport, right? If they fly on that airline all the time, most likely you're going to have good success with that airport as well. What is their time of day preference for departure and arrival? Some people may be departing for their trip in the evening after they get home from work, right? That's important to know. Just because they want to leave on Friday doesn't mean they can leave anytime on Friday. Maybe they want to arrive as early as they can and they want the first flight out. Those are the sort of details that are going to help you nail the quote the first time. Are they okay with red-eye flights? If they're traveling somewhere that's a little far away, this is a great question to ask. Now, I will say sometimes you have no option and you have to have a red-eye flight. So sometimes you really can't avoid it. Now, sometimes a red-eye flight may be an option that saves them some money. So are they open to that? Do they have a hotel preference? Same with airlines. If there's a hotel they prefer, maybe they're accruing points and maybe they just know that they love that hotel. That's going to help you pick the right place. Sleeping arrangements. When you start to look at 4 or more people, you really need to start wondering, how are people sleeping? Is it 2 rooms? Is it 1 room with, 2 beds and a sofa bed, right? What is their intended sleeping arrangements? The number of beds per room, right? If it's 3 people, they may still want a king bed with a sofa bed, right? That's an option. But if it's 3 people, maybe they want 2 double beds and a sofa bed. So these kinds of details are going to help you quote the correct room category. And room type preference. If you're talking about something like a resort in Mexico, Jamaica, etc., do they want that beachfront room, or are they okay with just an ocean view? When you're talking about a hotel, there's sometimes, they prefer a high level floor, or maybe they are okay to save money and be on a lower level. So those type of room type preference details are going to help you a lot, particularly if you know they're going somewhere where they might have a view. Now, have they researched for this trip? If they have done research on this trip, you want to know, what have they looked at? What have they found? What have they liked? What have they not liked? Maybe they've just been researching the destination to find out what they want to do, or maybe they've been on Expedia quoting prices. If they have been looking at prices, you need to know exactly what they found, because that's what they're going to expect to see back from you. Full details. If they have done research, ask them to send it to you via email, send you the link to whatever they have been looking at, especially if it involves pricing. Now, are you working with any other travel advisors? This goes back to spending your time appropriately, right? If the client is shopping around, most likely they're looking for the lowest price, okay? These are clients that don't deserve as much time as the client that is dedicated to working with you, because you don't know if this client's going to book with you. If they are working with other travel advisors, ask them to send you any quotes they've received from those travel advisors. We know we can match price. So just because they're working with someone else, you still need to provide great customer service so they end up working with you, but save yourself the effort. If someone else has already looked this up, you can look up the same thing, see if you can beat the price, and provide great customer service so the client chooses you. Are their passports up to date? If you are booking international travel, I would make sure that their passports are up to date and are valid within 6 months of return from their trip. Okay, so you want them to return home and still have 6 months of valid time on their passport. Make sure the passport's up to date. If they say that they are needing to get their passports, or if they need to renew their passports, or maybe their passport is going to expire a little sooner than it needs to be, then those are things to watch out for, right? You need to make sure that client goes and gets their passport renewed and taken care of, most likely before you book the trip, okay? I do not like booking travel when the passport is not up to date, or that they don't physically have it in their hand, because that's a potential risk and a potential problem for you. Now, last thing, seniors, military, first responders. Some of our vendors do offer discounts for these groups of people. So it's good to ask if they fit into any of these categories, because you may be able to save them a little extra. So how do I ask about budget? Money can be really hard to talk about. The best way to ask someone about their budget is to just say, what are you comfortable spending? Okay. If you say, what is your budget? You're maybe not going to get the same answer as what are you comfortable spending? Okay. Sometimes people don't really know how much the trip they want is going to cost. Do keep in mind that budget is sometimes something that is far off from being realistic. If your client wants to travel on a cruise for a week and their budget is $1,000 for 2 people, you already probably can suspect that that budget is not going to meet the task, okay? If their budget is far out of line, then that's an opportunity for you to just quickly tell them, a week-long cruise to this destination that you want to go to is actually about $3,000. Is that something that you're going to be comfortable with, or would you like to consider other options? Again, spend your time where time is due. You do not have to provide a full quote to a client. An approximate price in these types of situations is going to save you time, and it may, ultimately help you guys move in the right direction, you and your client. So make it clear what this includes, okay? What are you comfortable spending? Just know that if it's multiple couples and families travel together, their budget may not be per person or for the whole group. It might be per family, per couple. So just be clear. What are you comfortable spending per person is what I like to ask, because you never know what the relationships between these people are. And when you're talking about group of people, when you start talking about 4 to 8 people or maybe 2 families, you want to be very clear about what the budget is, especially when multiple rooms are concerned. So how do I know if the client is ready to book? So always ask your client when they are looking to place the deposit, okay? Your client will then be able to tell you, I'm ready to book today. I'm ready to book this week. I'm not quite ready to book, but I'd like to book next month, okay? These kinds of things are going to help you know, again, how much effort should you spend at this moment on that client. If they are ready today or this week or next week, you really do need to prepare a very, very thorough quote for them. Do the full process, give them your effort. You know they are ready to book this trip. Now, if they're not ready, if they don't even know when they want to place their deposit, they're probably just shopping around. This is the instance where you go, okay, for your week-long cruise, it's going to be approximately this price. When you are ready to place your deposit, I can get you accurate pricing at that time, because pricing does fluctuate, okay? It is okay to just send them an approximate number. You do not always have to create a thorough quote for your clients. So the qualification process, how do I go about doing this? So there are 3 main ways that you are going to be qualifying your clients. The first one is phone call. No matter what, you absolutely have to talk to your client on the phone. There are no ifs, ands, or buts about this. This indicates they're serious about booking, but it also helps to protect you from fraud. If your client is not willing to hop on the phone with you to answer these questions, how much trouble are you going to have getting them on the phone to collect credit card payment details, okay? Or to call them if something were to be urgent or necessary. You need to make sure that you talk to your client. It also builds rapport. Talking on the phone is going to build your client relationship better than messaging or email, okay? Get to know them. People also will say a lot more than they will type, right? You may ask the same question in a form or in an email, but if you ask it on the phone, you're almost always going to get more detail, and that's only going to help you. Now, when you establish the relationship with the client, it most likely started via email, text, maybe messaging platform, or social media. That might be how your client reached out to you. Now, it is okay to ask some basic questions this way. Do you know where you want to go? Do you know when you want to go? These details are going to help you be prepared for your phone call. Before you quote a price, you do need to have that phone call, but it's okay to start gathering that information in a messaging format or in an email format in advance, because then when you hop on the phone, you are prepared. Now, fillable forms, okay, we're going to talk a little more about this at the end, but these fillable forms are going to help ensure all of your questions are answered. You can send this form to your client, and you can have all the necessary details essentially written down, right? Electronically written down for you, the answers to all of these questions. You don't have to rely on your memory, and you really shouldn't rely on your memory. You should be taking lots of notes, but it is helpful to have this form. I will also say, if you have created a qualification form, which I highly recommend, and your client did not fill it out, you can fill it out for them while you are on the phone. That way you have it logged in your system as a request for a trip, and you have it in a written format, right? You have it saved. So I highly recommend forms. Even if you're not sending them to your clients, you should fill them out when you are talking to your clients. So form options. There are 2 platforms that I recommend for qualification forms, or for any type of contact form that you may create for your business. The first one is Google Forms, and the second one is JotForm, okay? There are many other options out there. Just know these are the ones that I have experience with and that I recommend that you look at as options for you and your business. Now, Google Forms is free with any Google account. When you created your Google business listing for your travel business, you had to do that with a Google account. So you should have a Google account. Therefore, you should all have access to Google Forms, completely free to use. Okay, great option for you. JotForm. This is a program, a website that has tiered levels. They do have a free tier that is available. The free tier is going to work for most people, but just know that if your form is getting a lot of traffic, and depending on how many views you get and how much maybe files you're uploading, you may not qualify for the free tier. So just know the free tier may work for you, but there are paid tiers depending on how you are using it and how much forms are being filled out, okay? Now, Google Forms is very simple to use. It is not a complicated program to learn, very easy. That also means it doesn't have as many features. It is bare bones, it is simple and easy, okay? Jotform is more customizable. If you are very tech savvy, you may prefer Jotform just because it's going to give you more features and more things you can do to customize that form to exactly what you're looking for, okay? So these are both great options. I recommend looking into both. I primarily use Google Forms, just to be honest with you guys, because most of the time it does the job that I needed to do. Now, some features that both of these form options have that I want you to be aware of, in case you start looking at other types of form submission options, you want these features, okay? Email notifications on form submissions. This means you receive an email when someone submits your form. This is something you absolutely need to have no matter what platform you choose to create a form with. Both of these options have that feature. And then export form responses to a spreadsheet. If you love spreadsheets, this is a feature you want to make sure that you are having in your option, and both of these do provide that as well. So I'm going to wrap it up with the do's and don'ts of qualifying clients. So do call your client, okay? No matter what, you need to call them and talk to them on the phone. Do not rely on written communication. Do not rely solely on it. It is great. You should have written communication with your client, but it can't be the only thing that you have. If you're not getting your client on the phone, you are not qualifying that client fully. Now, get all of the information you need before you create a quote, okay? Do not create a quote without all of the necessary information. If your client doesn't know where they're traveling to, you do not have all the information you need to do a quote. Don't create 6 quotes for a client because they don't know where they're going. Do the research to help them determine where they want to go before you do the quote, okay? Very important. You need to value your time. Your time is valuable. Do not just work aimlessly. Do not think doing 6 quotes for a client is going to help you be successful. Calling your client and getting all of the information you need is going to get you relationships with serious clients. It is going to value your time, and it is going to really help you be successful in this business, okay? Not every client's going to book with us, but we want to make sure our time goes to the clients who are serious about booking, okay? So just, if there's anything you learned today, I hope it is that you don't forget to call your clients on the phone. So important. It is something that some people, are not wanting to do. It is something that people think they can skip, but you absolutely cannot skip that. So thank you guys so much. I hope you found this helpful, and good luck qualifying your clients. I will see you in the next training video.